Hey guys, I'm back. It's been a long time since I've done a video input, and I sometimes just need a little bit of a jolt in the right direction to feel, the need to say something again. I've been really busy, I travel quite a bit, and been settling into a new job, so I haven't really been, focused on doing any video inputs. But I've been kind of following, the momentum of the feminist debate, around the world, especially in South Africa, given the horrific tragedies that have happened recently with the recent rapes and murders and so on. And while I am and have been for a long time very vocal about crime in South Africa, about rape and murder, not since now, um, I am a little bit concerned about feminists, using these tragic events, to further their political agenda. And that's what I want to talk about today. Firstly, let me say that, as we've noticed, as is common in South Africa, when someone prominent or upper class, is harmed in any way, raped or murdered, uh, there tends to be a very, very big outcry about, that person, as well they should be, okay? But the problem I have with that is in South Africa, I believe, it used to be every 6 minutes a woman is raped in South Africa. Many women, I personally know of many women who have confided in me about their having been raped. Um, and as you know, in South Africa, I think roughly just in my province alone, in the Western Cape, 45 people are killed on average every single week. Okay, some of them being women. Okay, so what bothers me really is that we ignore, all those many women, those poor women, those downtrodden women, those average women that are raped and murdered almost daily in South Africa. We ignore those women, and then when one upmarket woman student at the best educational institute in South Africa is murdered at the institute, on the campus, we have a very big outcry, partly because it's the hypocrisy of the society basically showing its ugly self, and that is that we don't expect or we don't want these very terrible things to happen in these upmarket places, in these elite, white, prestigious places. But we sort of don't mind when these things happen elsewhere, in the so-called colored and black slums, the townships and everywhere else. And so that's one of the things that I want to point out, that the hypocrisy of the issue, first of all, And as we know, of course, I think it goes without saying that feminism is largely a disease of the privileged, poor people, the marginalized masses, those who live, on less than $1 a day. These people don't know about feminism. Feminism wouldn't profit them in any way. They have to make do with what they have and rely on each other, men and women, to get through, just to live. Survival is their uppermost, concern. And when survival is your topmost concern, then you don't have time for bullshit like feminism. Feminism is basically, it's a pastime of rich people. And when I say rich, rich is a relative term, of course. I mean, some people wouldn't consider themselves rich, but by world standards, if you eat 3 meals a day or even 2 meals a day, and you live in a house and you have clean running water, and you have a job, you're rich. Okay, that's just a fact. By world standards, you are rich. Okay, because most people don't have those things. And so it's really, I mean, if you want social media, you have the internet, you have a mobile phone, you have computers, etc. You are rich by world standards. Okay, but feminism is largely a pastime of the rich elite, you know, who have time to sit around and theorize and come up with all this bullshit while other people are busting their asses, working really hard to feed their families. So let us just, and obviously governments and elite organizations with agendas, of course, fuel this type of, discourses in the universities, especially in the humanities, where they mostly come up with a lot of bullshit, you know, just to kind of give people, certifications and put them in places so they can further their sinister agendas, basically. And that's, the way I see it. But let us go back to the issue, at hand, and that is, we are saying that we have made crime and violence in South Africa now an issue of women's rights and liberation. When in reality, if you look at crime statistics in South Africa, the vast majority of people affected by crime, murder included, are men and not women. Okay? Crime is not a woman's liberation issue. Crime is a human issue. Crime is a problem for everybody. Okay? When the streets are safer for everyone, women are safer. Okay? And when the streets are not safe or unsafe, they are unsafe for everyone, and more so for men, because male on male violence is the more predominant type of violence that you find in South Africa and in the world in general. And so to try to now use crime and to take advantage of people's suffering and the horrific, murders that happen in South Africa almost daily, and try to make it a woman's issue and say that no, as women we are specifically being targeted and we are now specifically the victims of crime, is just bullshit. You're not specifically the victims of crime. Okay, everyone is a victim of crime. Even boys get raped sometimes in South Africa and in other places. And so to use, an evil, such a great evil, of the world, and try to harness it to drive your particular agenda, it's actually a crime. It's just plain criminal, to try and mold an issue to further your agenda, your war campaign on trying to brand all men as rapists and murderers. It's actually just criminal. Okay, and then let's try to look at the things a bit more rationally, okay, for a minute. Okay, if most men were evil and most men were rapists, the world would be a very, very nasty place. South Africa would be a much nastier place than it is. But the fact of the matter is, most men in the world are hardworking men, are decent men. They work hard for their families. They don't go around abusing women. They are not rapists, and they are not murderers, and that's the truth. And I found, in my experience, that when I go around and say this basic fact, feminists get angry and they get upset. You are not supposed to say that most men are decent. You are not supposed to say that most men are not rapists. You are not supposed to say that most men are not murderers. Because the minute you highlight that very salient and basic fact of life, it de-escalates the perception that they want to put out there that all women are victims to the tyranny of men. And why is it important for them to have the world believe that all men are tyrants and all women are victims? Is so that they can further their women's liberation campaign and give more rights to women, so as, to further marginalize and relegate men to, a tight corner somewhere, basically, so that women can be alone, free, be allowed to do whatever they want, not have to accept accountability for any of their actions, right? And then hold men accountable for all shit that goes wrong in the world. That's basically what they want. That's what feminists want. That's what they have to some extent achieved, but we are waking up to that reality. Men have started to realize that, wait a minute, I'm really getting the shorter end of the stick here, It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And we are just getting fed up of this, We are getting fed up of being called rapists. We are being fed up of being called murderers. We are being fed up of being blamed for all the shit that goes wrong with women in the world, when we know very well that the vast majority of us, we work very, very hard to look after our families, okay? And this is not just one or two men. And that's the thing. I'm not special in any way. I work hard to look after my family, my kids, and protect the woman and the children that I'm responsible for, directly responsible for. I work very hard to do this, but I'm not special in that way. This is not even a boast for a man. When a man says, I work hard for my family, it's not even a boast. It's just as per the cause. It's what men do. It's what men do, and what men do without any acknowledgement most of the time. Okay, most men just work for their families as per the cause. They don't expect anyone to thank them for it. They don't often get acknowledged for it, and in fact, they get accused more than anything, of wrongdoing more than anything else. So that's kind of the situation that men are in, and men are getting fed up. And because men are getting fed up, you start having these men going their own way, this MGTOW thing. You find these men that are basically just staying away from women altogether, because men are saying to themselves, look, why do I really need to get married? That's what men are saying. They're saying, why should I get married? It's a raw deal for me, okay? I'm going to get married. I'm going to work my ass off for this woman. And I'm going to have kids with her. Only to be disadvantaged in the long run through this marriage because of all the rights that this woman will be given in that marriage legally, and in the end, I'm just going to be paying through my nose, should we get divorced, all the things I worked hard for will come to nothing, because of course you spend your life working for your family. So when you no longer have that family, and your wealth goes with that family, men lose the impetus to start all that shit from scratch, from over. Okay, it's like he has to start from ground zero again, from the beginning. So men are saying, look, there's no point to getting married, okay? Because of this lack of accountability, because legally, because the sort of dominant discourse that has taken the world, of this type of Western liberalism, has kind of said that we all need to hold women as victims, and therefore incapable, of really doing anything wrong, because the victim by necessity is seen as the oppressed, okay? And the oppressed, often in the world, the oppressed, is justified in the tyranny that they carry out, and that's women today. It's the same with anything else, with genocide. When Hitler went after the Jews, it was justified, okay? It wasn't really justified, but they found a way to justify it. They found a way to commit genocide based on viewing themselves as victims of a Jewish elite in Germany and in Europe, okay? So when they tried to cleanse Europe from the Jews, and then created this horrific genocide, it was through the victimization mentality. They fostered a victimization mentality. When you tell yourself, I'm the victim, I'm being oppressed, later on you are able to justify any of your actions against said oppressor. And this is kind of what's happening with the feminist front. And this is what they're doing. Basically, gradually, they are, and quite evidently, men are being feminized. They are being told that, it's not right to be a man. Everything that is maleness, male qualities are seen as somehow evil. If a man just happens to see a beautiful woman and he likes her and he goes and talks to her, for example, no, this is somehow, he's violating her rights. So it could be perceived that he's violating her rights because she wants her privacy, and now he's going over to her to talk to her. Okay, so men, with all these type of confusing rules that exist, around women, men don't even know what to do anymore. Men don't even know, should I open the door for her? If I open the door for her, isn't that perhaps offensive? Or should I not? If I, on the other hand, if I don't open the door for her, how would she feel about that? Where is she with the whole opening the door thing, for example? Should I help her with something, that she needs help with? Should I help her carry her bags? Or shouldn't I help her carry her bag? Men don't know where they are. Men don't know what to do anymore because of this whole feminist narrative. And then women are saying, men, they don't want to commit. Of course they don't want to commit. Who wants to commit to that? Who wants to commit to having to walk on eggshells your whole life, or not knowing where you stand? Okay, being afraid, to step anywhere, to put your foot anywhere, to hold any type of firm position, because you might, God forbid, offend this woman in some way that might be conceived of as emotional abuse. It's just now everything has just bordered on ridiculous. And so to close, I want to tell you about, one article I read, some MP in London, I think his name was Ahmed. He was accused of having an affair. A woman came forward and accused him of having an affair with her, an illicit relationship with her, and she was about almost 50 years old already at the time, and she had this consensual relationship, with this guy, and then, it was part of this whole Me Too movement coming out, and she said that he abused his political authority in pursuing her or whatever, whether he pursued her or she pursued him, but that relationship basically was an abuse of his standing, his political standing. Okay, and so she was really just a victim of this guy at 50 years old, at almost 50 years old, at the time. And I have several problems with that. Okay, firstly, she entered a consensual relationship with him, secondly, she's not a child, she's a full adult. Okay, she's not mentally ill. Okay, and she consented to have relations with him. Okay, which under British law is not illegal. Okay, two consenting adults are allowed to have consensual sexual relationships or relations with one another, and it's not considered illegal under British law. Okay, now under Islamic law, if you were not married to this additional woman, of course it would be considered illegal, but we are talking about British law. Okay, and so how in any way is that an abuse of power and authority? We are not talking about a young woman, And we're not talking about someone who is naive. And by the way, in Britain, with the amount of exposure that people get there, do you really get such a thing as a naive woman? You know, I'm pretty sure almost every adult woman is not naive. It's very far from naive, because they do engage in relationships with men rather freely. It's not some other country. It's not a Middle Eastern country. It's not in Arabia somewhere. Okay, it's the United Kingdom, for God's sake. Okay, so there's no law against it, and people do it. People engage freely in relations with each other, and it's completely legal. So I don't. I'm saying that either you accept culpability, you accept that you are a partner in the crime, that which you now are saying is a crime, that you willingly entered into sexual relations with a man, a parliamentarian, a married man at that. Okay, how does that make you look, by the way? If you consider adultery to be a crime, how does that make you look? Okay, because you entered into a relationship with a married man, no less. Okay, now you come out and say that no, you are the victim actually in the situation. Okay, and you want to demean and tarnish the image of this man, okay, who does a good job in every other way. And so what I'm saying is basically let us stop being hypocrites. Okay, we either accept adult women as fully grown adult women and have them be accountable for their own shit. Okay, stop blaming men for everything. Okay, you are the gatekeeper to your own vagina. If you open your legs, if you want to open your legs, if you want to sleep with a guy, you do it. You are the one granting consent. Finally, in the end, okay, you are the gatekeeper. Okay, unless of course it is a criminal rapist. Okay, in which case you are truly violated. And he should be beheaded, or whatever your legal concepts are. My thing is he should be beheaded, or he should be killed. But that's what we do in any case. But you might have some other legal framework, whatever, but that is definitely a crime. Failing that, if you enter a sexual relationship with a guy, married or unmarried, old or young, as long as it's an adult, right, you bear the responsibility for that. Stop blaming the guy. Okay, stop acting like you're the victim when you're actually the gatekeeper, right? Because you have given your consent. Okay, to come afterwards because the relationship soured, because he broke up with you, because you were heartbroken, and now you want to go out and destroy his reputation, let's call it for what it is. Okay, it is vindictive. You are just being vindictive. You are just sour grapes because things didn't go the way you wanted it to go. Okay, and as for the man being married, the fact of the matter is, under that jurisdiction, he did not commit a crime. Okay, stop being hypocritical. Okay, on the one hand, we want to hold politicians accountable to Christian morality, and say that, he happened to have a few girlfriends, or he slept around a little bit, he's a bad politician. No, he's not. Okay, he's only a bad politician if under the constitution of his country that shit is illegal, in which case in many Western countries it's not. Okay, as long as his relationships were respectful, were consensual, with women who agreed to be in those relations with him, there is not one single finger you can really point at him to say that he is a bad politician. A bad politician is one who breaks the laws of his or her own country. Okay, you cannot compel people to believe in your value system and your morals, or what you perceive to be morally good. Thank you very much.